Hey guys, what's up? Today I want to show you the 10 biggest JRPG Grindfests I've ever played in my life. But not the ones where I grinded just because I wanted to. No, the ones that kinda force you to do it if you want to beat the game. So let's begin. Number 10, Final Fantasy XII. Every time I think of this game, the grinding is immediately the first thing that comes to memory. However, I made a small mistake during the first half of my playthrough. I didn't know you could sell junk at stores because I thought those items were important, which led me to ignore buying magic spells for my characters. But when I learned that, sold everything and got everyone badass magic, I still had to grind a heck of a lot. This is a game where avoiding enemies is hard inside dungeons or ruins, so you end up fighting a lot no matter what. To think that's still not enough to beat some of the bosses or especially some of the espers. Raking entire areas is what I did for a few of them. Hours of endless grinding just to level up and gain more abilities. Keep in mind I'm talking about the original PS2 version. It's harder than the Zodiac Age, it's remastered. But anyway, in the end this game wasn't as brutal as I felt without magic. I don't know why it was such a lifesaver to make battles, including the final boss, more balanced. It still stays on number 10 because it's not even close to some of the next games in the list. Number 9, Phantasy Star 4. This is the only one I've beaten out of the first 4, so I don't know if the others are more grindy. I get the feeling they are. Anyhow, this is a masterpiece. Why then is it one when all you do half of the time is leveling up? It's got a lot of encounters which help increase the tedium, but since it's such a responsive video game with fast interface, you don't mind that much. I mean, I didn't. Alas, for a game of this era, and on the Genesis no less, it's hard to excuse its hardcore shenanigans. Don't even think that any version, any collection out there, even the one on PS4 and Switch, made things easier. They do give you fast forward options, but you're still gonna have to grind. It's unavoidable, but it's worth it, because the story, characters, the music, and those beautiful graphics await you. Bosses are epic too, so it's worth grinding a lot just to see them fall at the end. Trust me, it's one of those grind fests that really do recompense your time, unlike more modern JRPGs like freaking Monarch! Number 8, Stella Deus. Stella Deus is a great hidden gem in the strategy RPG spectrum if you like grinding. Actually, don't be surprised to see a lot of those in this video, they're usually experts in the field. This PS2 game can also be found digitally on the PS3, but I only recommend it if you enjoy training areas. Yeah, see this one right here? You better get acquainted with it quickly and engrave it in your mind. It's where you'll spend most of the game. A place where you can grind till your heart's content. Some tricks are there to exploit the situation, but as advantageous as that sounds, you'll still use a big chunk of your precious time over here. It's a hard game, what do you expect? But it doesn't give you enough tools to simply use strategy to beat every single map. Usually after just a few battles, the enemies are way too tough even for your expertise, so off you go to the grinding ruins no matter what. Still, you won't put as many hours as you may think in this game, at least not if you only want to complete the main story. So don't be shy, give it a try and have fun with the grind. Number 7, the Seventh Saga. Of course this game will be here. It's objectively broken and everyone knows it. Enix of America messed up the localization and made it 10 times harder than its Japanese counterpart. Don't know if they did that on purpose, a la Working Designs, or not. But yeah, this little SNES JRPG is plain savage, infamously ruthless. Moreover, it's got random encounters galore, even though that's obviously not enough. You have to be willing to fight every single battle you can until you're as capped as your minimal wage. Despite that, you'll still suffer its ferocious cheap deaths. Not everything is lost, however. It's understandable that a JRPG of this era would require some major grinding, which is why I won't fill the list with its kind, but seriously, why did they release the game like this outside of Japan? It can be beaten for sure with tons of grinding, but is that really fun? Really, Enix? Number 6. Octopath Traveler. It's hard to believe that a game that starts up quite easy and friendly can ramp its difficulty up hard in its second chapter. No matter which character you choose, they all lead to the same insufferable hellhole. But of course, it's one of those that'll get more challenging the more you advance. Once you encounter your first massive spike, you'll know exactly what kind of game you're dealing with. Octopath is a job system game, but no jobs are forced on you, and equipping a new one doesn't send you back to level 1, nor does it decrease your stats considerably. It's one of the best implemented job systems I've seen out there, and I love it for this. Grinding in this game was so worth it, as it's such a rewarding experience with excellent story and character progression. But I dare say that half of my playthrough was spent leveling up as much as I could before the nastiest boss fights you can imagine. Now, I haven't gotten that far into the second game, so I don't know if it's just as unforgiving. You guys ought to let me know. Number 5. Record of Agarist War. I've never beaten any of these games. It's preposterous to waste so much time grinding in strategy games that aren't that great. But I had a bone to pick with the first one in the series, which came out on PS3 in Europe and Xbox 360 in North America. I played the PS3 version a lot, and I can guarantee it's one of the longest JRPGs in existence. 5 generations of characters. I made it all the way to the 4th one, and my timer said I had over 50 hours of playtime already. Why? Because more than half of that is spent fighting non-stop before every dumbass spike. I thought it was worth it because story and characters were a decent price. Couldn't wait to see who will be the next main hero for the next generation and what new party members and sexy girls I will get. But in the end, that wasn't enough to make me go on, so I gave up. It's insane. I know there's a recent remaster of this game, but I haven't tried it. I hope I can one day to see if it's less grindy and more balanced. About the others in the series, well, Agarist 2 is worth it, 0 is not. But there's even another JRPG from the old Idea Factory that's even a bigger grindfest than this one. Number 4. Spectral Souls. One of the hardest tactical JRPGs of all time for me was Spectral Souls, a game where I needed to fight 10 random battles in training before the next story map. It's also one of those with multiple characters as you control 3 different parties simultaneously the entire game. I had to grind them all to pieces to be able to stand a chance next. I love it, but I'm sure as hell never playing it again. I had a lot of patience in the past for grinding picnics, but nowadays I've grown tired of them. And I'm talking about a time where fast forward was very rare in games, especially in strategy RPGs. So imagine entire sessions of just training your characters for the next battle, day in, day out, doing nothing but that. Well, that's an exaggeration, but you get the idea. Spectral Souls isn't the only one like this. Its brothers from the Spectral series are just as imposing. Blazing Souls, Generation of Chaos, Spectral Force 3, well, the latter might be the easiest of them all. Anyway, this little gem is a huge JRPG Grindfest, but it is still very recommended. Number 3. The Shin Megami Tensei series. Let's finish this video with 3 JRPG series because it ain't possible to pick just one game. The entire SHMT series has always been known for its demon summoning program, featuring a wide variety of playable monsters with different strengths and weaknesses, but it is the strategy involved within each party set that separates them from the first place in this video. Grinding can be greatly reduced by having the right demons in your party, the right build for your character. Other than decent equipment and items, I found SHMT 5 to be more grindy than others, even though it's not the hardest, perhaps because even on easy mode I was getting wrecked in the second half of the game. I had to grind a lot despite the fact I knew I had a more than recommended set of demons in my party. It was such a hard-ass game. I could quote Nocturne for being harder, but for some reason I grinded less. Awesome demons in my party and a lot of buffs and debuffs helped out a lot. With games like Digital Devil Saga, however, I wasn't so lucky. It plays differently since you don't recruit demons here. Instead, your 3 playable characters acquire elemental-based skills and learn different abilities. I never beat it, it was honestly just too hard for me. But anyway, you get my point. They can be atrociously grindy or not depending on what you do and how you fight. But yeah, half of that grinding session is gonna be spent trying to negotiate with these jackasses and get them into your party. Anyway, there's no shame in following a few tips online. Number 2, the Dragon Quest series. One of the most legendary series of all time is what I call the godfather of grinding. Since the first games on the NES, you could tell more than half of the adventure will be spent on fighting, all to just level the hell up. The following titles were no different, some more than others, but in the end all stupidly grindy. Even to date, with the latest release Dragon Quest XI, the trait hasn't gone anywhere. 11 was the most friendly of them all, great for beginners, yeah. That is until you get to the post-game and realize you didn't get the true ending. That's when the real farming begins, and off you go to try to find those goddamn metal slimes that are so rare to level up faster. I know Dragon Warrior 2 is known as one of the most hardcore in these terms, but I've barely played it, so in my experience, 8 was the most demanding of the ones I played a lot. Hours and hours of grinding up to the point where I was grinding for money with these golems just to buy the best equipment. 7 on the PS1 was less grindy, but still grindy. Like I said, I haven't seen any exceptions, at least not from the mainline series, but Dragon Quest is not the biggest grindfest I've seen in my life. Number 1, the Gaia Series. These guys are the kings of grinding. Never have I had to grind so freaking hard and for so freaking long in any other JRPG. And I still didn't manage to beat some of them. Perhaps my biggest achievement is this Gaia 2, the only one I finished. I got to the final boss of 4, but it mercilessly destroyed me. However, if I had to pick one game in the entire series, it will be the original on the PS2, the very first one. Hour of Darkness is the biggest grindfest I've ever played. I got far into it after about 10 hours of grinding and I still couldn't progress. I didn't exploit the item world like many fans told me because I was exhausted already. I may go back to it one day, but I'd rather explore the most modern versions of it. Knowing what to do, where and how helps a lot in beating the game, but that's way easier said than done. Every single Gaia game is a grindfest, no exceptions whatsoever. Even some of its costumes like Soul Nomad or Makai Kingdom are straight up ridiculous as well. It's almost infuriating how much fun fans have with this little series once they learn how to exploit it. Sorry, I'm not that big of a fan and I just don't have the time or the patience for them. Honorable mentions?